as we discussed, abhyasa is more important, and I don't want any of us to, forget and lag behind. So we'll quickly read the Samadhi Padam all together. Then we'll read the Sadhana Pada, one sloka at a time. Om Adha Patanjala Yoga Sutrani Adha Prathama Padaha Samadhi Padaha Adha Yoga Anujasanam Yogaschitta Vritti Nirodha Tadadashtu Swarupe Avasthanam Vrittisarupyamitaratra Vrittaya Panjadaya Klishta Klishtaha Pramana Vipariyaya Vikalpanidra Smrtayah Pratyakshanumana Agamaha Pramanani विपर्ययो मिथ्याज्ञानमदद्रूपप्रतिष्ठं शब्दज्ञानानुपाति वस्तुशून्यो विकल्पः अभावप्रत्ययालम्बनावृत्तिर्निद्रा अनुभूतविषया सम्भ्रमोषः स्मृतिः अभ्यासवैराग्याभ्यां तन्निरोधः तत्र स्थितौ यत्नः अभ्यासः स तु दीर्घकालनैरन्तर्यसत्कारासेवितो दृढभूमिः द्रष्टानुश्रविकविषयवितृष्णस्य वशीकारसज्ञा वैराग्यम् तत्परं पुरुषख्यातेः गुणवैतृष्ण्यं वितर्कविचारानन्दास्मितानुगुमात् सम्प्रज्ञातः विरामप्रत्ययाभ्यासपूर्वसंस्कारशेषोऽन्यः भवप्रत्ययो विदेहप्रकृतिलयानां श्रद्धावीरस्मृतिसमाधिप्रज्ञापूर्वक इतरेषां तीव्रसंवेगानामासन्नः मृदुमध्यादिमात्रत्वात् ततो अपि विशेषः ईश्वरप्रणिधानाद्वा क्लेशकर्म विभागाशयैरपरामृष्टः पुरुषविशेषः ईश्वरः तत्र निरतिशयं सर्वज्ञबीजं सपूर्वेषाम् अपि गुरुः कालेन अनवच्छेदात् तस्य वाचकः प्रणवः तज्जपस्तदर्थभावनं ततः प्रत्यक्चेतनाधिगमोऽपि अन्तराय अभावश्च व्याधिस्त्यानसंशयप्रमादालस्य विरधिर्भ्रान्तदर्शनालब्धभूमिकत्वानवस्थितत्वानि चित्तविक्षेपाः ते अन्तरायाः दुःखदौर्मनस्यङ्गमे जयत्वशासप्रश्वासविक्षेपसः भुवः तत्प्रतिषेधार्थम् एकतत्त्वोऽभ्यासः मैत्रीकरुणामुदितोपेक्षाणां सुखदुःख पुण्यापुण्यविषयाणां भावनादश्चित्तप्रसादनं प्रच्छर्दविधारणाभ्यां वा प्राणस्य विषयवती वा प्रवृत्तिरुत्पन्ना मनसः स्थितिनिबन्धिनी वियोगा वा ज्योतिष्मति वीतरागविषयं वा चित्तं स्वप्ननिद्राज्ञानालम्बनं वा यथा अभिमतध्यानाद्वा परमाणुपरममहत्तत्त्वान्तोऽस्य वशीकारः क्षीणवृत्तेरभिजातस्येव मणेर्गृहीतग्रहणग्राह्येषु तत्सदञ्जनता समापत्तिः तत्र शब्दार्थज्ञानविकल्पैः सङ्कीर्णा च वितर्का समापत्तिः स्मृतिपरिशुद्धौ स्वरूपशून्या इव अर्थमात्रनिर्भासा निर्वितर्क एतयेव सविचारा निर्विचारा च सूक्ष्मविषया व्याख्याता सूक्ष्मविषयत्वं च अलिङ्गपर्यवसानं ता एव सबीजसमाधिः निर्विचारवैशारध्ये अध्यात्मप्रसादः ऋतम्भरा तत्र प्रज्ञा श्रुतानुमानप्रज्ञाभ्याम् अन्यविषया विशेषार्थत्वात् तज्ज संस्कारः अन्यसंस्कारप्रतिबन्धी तस्यापि निरोधे सर्वनिरोधात् निर्बीजसमाधिः. Now if some of you can join, we'll read the sadhana pada also. Om adha dvitiya padaha sadhana padaha tapaswadhyaya ishvara pranidhanani kriya yogaha.
Now if you can admit Rashmi ji. Yeah.
Samadhi bhavanartha kleshadanugascha.
Samadhi Swamiji, can you be a little slow?
Samadhi bhavanartha kleshatanukaranarthascha avidya asmita ragadvesha abhiniveshaha panchakleshaha avidya kshetram uttaresham prasupta tanuvicchinna udaranam anitya ashuchi dukkha anatmasu nitya
Nitya,
शुचि
Shuchi,
सुख
Sukha,
आत्मख्याति
Atmakyati,
अविद्या
Avidya,
दृग्दर्शन शक्त्यो
Drigdarshana Shaktyo,
एकात्मता
Ekatmata,
एव अस्मिता
Eva Asmita,
सुखानुशायी रागः
Sukhaishayi Ragaha,
दुःखानुशायी द्वेषः
Kanushvahi Dveshaha,
स्वरसवाही
Swarasavahi,
विदुषोऽपि
Vidushopi,
तथारूढः
Tatharudaha,
अभिनिवेशः
Abhiniveshaha,
ते
Te
प्रतिप्रसवहेयाः
Pratiprasavaheyaha,
सूक्ष्माः
Sukshmaha,
ध्यानहेयाः
Dhyanaheyaha,
तद्वृत्तयः
Tadvuttayaha,
क्लेशमूलः
Kleshamulaha,
कर्माशयः
Karmashayaha,
दृष्टादृष्ट
Drishtadrishta,
जन्मवेदनीयः
Janmavedaniyaha,
ततिमूले
Tatimule,
तद्विपाकः
Tadvipakaha,
जाति
Chati,
आयुः
Ayuhu,
भोगाः
Bhogaha,
ते
Te,
ह्लाद
Hlada,
परिताप
Paritapa,
फलाः
Phalaha,
पुण्यापुण्य
Punya Punya,
हेतुत्वात्
Etutvat,
परिणाम
Parinama,
पाप
Thapa,
संस्कार दुःखैः
Samskara Dukkaihi,
गुणवृत्ति
Gunavutti,
विरोधाच्च
Virodhacha,
दुःखमेव
Dukkameva,
सर्वं विवेकिनः
Sarvam Vivekinaha,
हेयं
Heyam,
दुःखमनागतं
Dukkamanagatham,
द्रष्टृ
Drashtra,
दृश्ययोः
Drishyayoho,
संयोगः
Samyogaha,
हेयहेतुः
Eya Hetuhu,
प्रकाश
Prakasha,
क्रिया क्रिया
Kriya,
स्थितिशीलं
Titishilam,
भूतेन्द्रियात्मकं
Bhutendriyatmakam,
भोग अपवर्गार्थं
Bhoga Apavargatham,
दृश्यं
Drishyam,
विशेष
Vishesha,
अविशेष
Avishesha,
लिंगमात्र
Lingamatra,
अलिंगानि
Alingani,
गुणपर्वाणि
Gunavarvani,
द्रष्टा
Drashta,
दृशिमात्रः
Dhrimatraha,
शुद्धोऽपि
Shuddhopi,
प्रत्ययानुपश्यः
Pratyayanupashyaya,
तदर्थ
Tadharta,
एव
Eva,
दृश्यस्य आत्मा
Drishyasya Atma,
कृतार्थं प्रति
Krutatram Prati,
नष्टम् अपि
Nashtam Api,
अनष्टं
Anashtam,
तदन्य
Tadanya,
साधारणत्वात्
Sadharanatvata,
स्वस्वामी
Swaswami,
शक्त्योः
Shaktyoyo,
स्वरूप
Swarupe, Swarupa,
उपलब्धि
Upalabdit,
हेतुः
Hetuhu,
संयोगः
Samyogaha,
हेतु
सत्यहेतु
अविद्या
अविद्या
तदभावात्
तदभावात्
संयोग अभावः
संयोग अभावो
हानं
हानं
तदृशेः
तद्रुहेः कैवल्यं
विवेकख्यातिः
विवेकख्यातिः
अविप्लव
अविप्लव
हानोपायः
हानोपायः
तस्य
तस्य
सप्तधा
सप्तदा
प्रान्तभूमिप्रज्ञा
भ्रान्तभूमिप्रज्ञा
योग
योग
अंग
अंग
अनुष्ठानाद
अनुष्ठानाद
अशुद्धिक्षये
अशुद्धिक्षये
ज्ञानदीप्तिः
ज्ञानदीप्तिः
आविवेकख्यातेः
आविवेकख्यातेः
यम
यम
नियम
नियम
आसन
आसन
प्राणायाम
प्राणायाम
प्रत्याहार
प्रत्याहार
धारण
धारण
ध्यान
ज्ञान
समाधयोः
समापयोः
अष्टावङ्गानि
अष्टावङ्गानि
अहिंसा
अहिंसा
सत्य
सत्य
अस्तेय
आस्तेय
ब्रह्मचर्य
ब्रह्मचर्य
अपरिग्रहाः
अपरिग्रहाः
यमाः
यमः
जाति
याति
देशकाल
देशकाल
समयानवच्छिन्ना
समयानवच्छिन्न
सार्वभौमा
सार्वभौम
महाव्रतं
महाव्रतं
शौच
शौच
संतोष
संतोष
तप
तप
स्वाध्याय
स्वाध्याय
ईश्वर प्रणिधानानि
ईश्वर प्रणिधानानि
नियमाः
नियमाः
वितर्कबाधने
वितर्कबाधने
प्रतिपक्षभावनं
प्रतिपक्षभावनं
वितर्क
वितर्क
हिंसादयः
हिंसादयः
कृत
कृत
कारित
कारित
अनुमोदित
अनुमोदित
लोभ
लोभ
क्रोध
क्रोध
मोह
मोह
पूर्वक
पूर्वक
मृदु
मृदु
मध्य
मध्य
अधिमात्रा
अधिमात्र
दुःख
दुःख
अज्ञान
अज्ञान
अनन्तफला
अनन्तबल
इति
इति
प्रतिपक्षभावनं
प्रतिपक्षभावनम्
अहिंसा प्रतिष्ठायाम्
अहिंसा प्रतिष्ठानां
तत्सन्निधौ
तत्सन्निधौ
वैरत्यागः
वैरत्यागः
सत्यप्रतिष्ठायाम्
सत्यप्रतिष्ठायां
क्रिया
क्रिया
फलाश्रयत्वम्
फलाश्रयत्वम्
अस्तेयप्रतिष्ठायाम्
आस्तेयप्रतिष्ठायां
सर्वरत्न
सर्वरत्न
उपस्थानम्
उपस्थानं
ब्रह्मचर्यप्रतिष्ठायाम्
ब्रह्मचर्यप्रतिष्ठायां
वीर्यलाभः
वीर्यलाभः
अपरिग्रह
अपरिग्रह
स्थैर्ये
स्थैर्ये
जन्मकथन्ता
जन्मकतन्था
सम्बोधः
सम्बोधः
शौचात्
शौचात्
स्वाङ्गजुगुप्सा
स्वाङ्गजिबुक्का
परैः
परैः
असंसर्गः
असंसर्गः
सत्त्वशुद्धि
सत्त्वशुद्धि
सौमनस्य
सौमनस्य
ऐकाग्र्य
Aikagra.
Indriyajaya.
Indriyajaya.
Atmadarshana yogyatwani.
Atmadarshana yogyatva.
Tva
Swami.
cha
Cha.
santoshad
Santoshadha.
anuttama sukhalabha
Anuttama sukalabha.
kayendriya
Kayendriya.
siddhihi
Siddhihi.
ashuddhikshayat
Ashuddhikshayat.
tapasah
Tapasaha.
swadhyayat
Swadhyayadha.
ishtadevata
Ishtadevata.
samprayogah
Samprayogaha.
samadhi siddhihi
Samadhi siddhihi.
ishvara pranidhanat
Ishvara pranidhanat.
sthira sukhamasanam
Tirasukamasanam.
prayatna
Prayatna.
shaithilya
Shaitilya.
ananta
Ananta.
समापत्तिभ्याम
Samapattibhyam.
ततो
Tato.
द्वन्द्वान्
Dandwan.
अभिघातः
Abhighatah.
तस्मिन् सति
Tasmin sati.
श्वासप्रश्वासयोः
Shwasayoho.
गतिविच्छेदः
Gativichedah.
प्राणायामः
Pranayamah.
सतो
Tato.
बाह्य
Bahya.
अभ्यन्तर
Abhyantara.
सम्भवृत्तिः
Gandhavrittihi.
परिदृष्टः
Paridrishtah.
स्तम्भवृत्तिः
Sambhavrittihi.
देशकाल
Deshakala.
संख्याभिः
Sankhyabihi.
परिदृष्टः
Paridrishtah.
दीर्घसूक्ष्मः
Dirghasukshmah.
बाह्य
Bahya.
अभ्यन्तरविषय
Abhyantara Vishaya.
आक्षेपी
Akshepi.
चतुर्थः
Chaturtaha.
ततः
Tataha.
क्षीयते
Shiyate.
प्रकाशावरणम्
Prakashavaranam.
धारणासु च
Dharanasu cha.
योग्यता मनसः
Yogyata manasaha.
स्वविषय
Svavishaya.
असंप्रयोगे
Asamprayoge.
चित्तस्वरूप
Chittaswarupa.
अनुकार इव
Anukara iva.
इन्द्रियाणां
Indriyanam.
प्रत्याहारः
Pratyaharaha.
ततः
Tataha.
परमा
Parama.
वश्यता
Pashyata.
इन्द्रियाणां.
Indriyanam.
That's it. Very good. So if you keep reading it, you will, abhyasayana, get better at it. Okay. So as we have been discussing, yoga is the science of happiness, and that happiness that we are seeking is part of our real nature. That is what the scripture is teaching us. And why are we choosing the scripture? Because that it's a subtle area which cannot be studied by pratyaksha, by our sense organs, or by logic inference. So we are depending on the third means of knowing, the scripture. We trust the scripture to make it happen for us. And yoga needs your daily practice, as you know, and the main practice, mukhya abhyasa, is the practice of meditation, which is samadhi, as you have familiarized it. And samadhi is of three types: using a theme, sampraknyata, which leads you into the unknown autopilot area known as asampraknyata, which again you will come back. But with practice, the happiness and bliss that you experience in it becomes a permanent experience for you, and that is called kaivalya. That is, you are always happy all the time. So that is called kaivalya. And sadhana pada is what we are discussing, how to practically bring it about. That is what we are discussing. And the main sadhana is called Kriya Yoga, practical yoga. What is that? Tapas Swadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani. Conscious effort to improve your mental climate, let us say. And Swadhyaya is daily studying the scripture, because that creates the necessary ideas in our head. And the daily work that you do it as an offering to God, so that you remain calm and quiet all the time, and you will be easily slipping into meditation when you sit on the mat. And so for us yogis, Kriya Yoga is not something that we do just on the mat. It is 24/7. We are full-time dedicated people. Not just, we are not doing this just for the yoga certificate or the some photo in the social media or something. We are doing it for our own sake, for our own self-transformation into a happy being. Samadhi bhavanartha kleshatanugranarthascha. So why are we doing all this? To improve our samadhi, our meditative experience and deeper understanding of life, and of course to destroy whatever is negative in us. Kleshatanugranarthascha. And what are the negatives in us? By birth, by manufacturing defect, let us say, we have 5 kleshas: avidya, asmita, ragadvesha, abhiniveshascha. And what is the primary villain in the story? It is avidya, not knowing our true nature, like and not being having access into that causeless happiness. Like babies don't have any reason to smile, they just smile, isn't it? In the same way, but we all need a reason, isn't it? We need it must be our birthday, or we must get a job or something. We need a reason. What Patanjali is trying to teach us is being happy for no good reason. So that is what we are trying to do. So for that, our kleshas, our impurities have to be removed. So what are the kleshas? Avidya, asmita, and all that. And avidya, not knowing our spiritual nature, or having some funny idea in the head about ourselves, that is called avidya. So that is the main problem. Kshetra muttaresham, it is a farm for all other miseries. And what is avidya? Anitya ashuji dukkha anatmasu nitya shuchi sukhatma khyadira vidya. You who are conscious and alive, you think that you are dead, inert, stinking, smelling matter. That is called avidya. That idea has somehow crept into our head, and we are organizing our life based on that. So now everything has become a problem for us. So that is what Patanjali is trying to correct. That fundamental, that formula is corrected, and then the whole derivation becomes correct. So and if you have avidya, then what happens? Then you think, if you don't know who you are, then you start to think that whatever others tell you that you are, isn't it? There is a story of a lamb or a sheep. I'm sorry, a lion, baby lion, a cub who happened to be raised by sheep. And the lion, even when he's a big, fat, strong lion, he bleats like a sheep, because everybody told him that he is a sheep. So he makes that funny sound. Uh, in the same way, we are also forced to, because of the situations like school and society has taught us a lot of funny ideas. So we have forgotten how to be happy and blissful. Sukhanushayi ragaha. We want to repeat pleasurable experiences, and we want to avoid suffering. Dukkhanushayi dveshaha. And we also have a deep love for our body, and which causes fear of death. And in conclusion, or in summary, all kinds of fears. And the mother of all fears is fear of death. What is the worst thing that can happen to you? You will die. So, so that is the mother of all fears, isn't it? So what can we do about this? They can be removed using positive techniques, which Patanjali will teach us. And what is this cause of avidya? Our old habits, klesha mulaha karmashayaha, which are old habits. Samskaras are causing us to think in a certain way. So Patanjali is now trying to reprogram our brain and get us onto the right track, and these old habits which are staying in the background and pulling the threads to my behavior, they decide my current situation, how long I am going to be here, and what all experiences I am going to happen. I'm going to undertake. They jatyayur bhogaha. They decide my experiences in life. My habits, because I have an interest in yoga, I'm here. So I am enjoying or suffering this class. So like that, whatever uh, habits I have, they determine my situation. Okay, and those things, this background music, they samskaras. What do? They bring me good and bad experiences. Halada paritapa phalaha. Why? Because I, based on them, I do good and bad things. If I smoke, I'll get cancer. So uh, two types of experiences: halada and paritapa, happy and miserable experiences they bring. This much is what we have been discussing. And now, okay, now you explained the whole working of the mind and everything that to me. But what is the final result of the all this study? He says. He says finally between you and me, life is miserable. He says. Look at the 15th sutra. परिणाम ताप संस्कार दुःखैः गुणवृत्ति विरोधाच्च दुःखमेव सर्वं विवेकिनः. I want to tell you a story. Once a famous man, let's say the prime minister or somebody, he visited a mental hospital. They do all this charitable work and all that. So they visited a mental hospital, and there were two nutcases sitting in a cell, and one of them, the prime minister asked, "How did you reach here?" He said, he started telling the story. Where I was born in this village, and there was a beautiful girl next to my house, and we noticed each other when we were children. And he keeps on saying all that long story, his love story. And we were in love, deep love for 15 years. And finally, when the right man came, she dumped me and married somebody. And out of heartbreak, I became mad, and I'm here. So that girl, that the love of my life, that special girl, has made me mad and brought me to the mental asylum. Okay, so prime minister asked the next man, how did you reach here? He says, did you hear about that girl? That he said, yes, I married that girl, so I am here, he says. So in the same way, we all have our own different experiences and our own reasons that cause us to be miserable, isn't it? So he says, no matter what is your story, whatever is your unique story, finally at the end of the day, everything is not in our control and we are miserable, he says. This 15th sutra is Patanjali Yoga Sutra, as you may know, is very important in the Buddhism also, Buddhist scriptures also. So they study it in very good, in a serious manner. And this sutra, 15th sutra, is Lord Buddha's favorite sutra because it explains the real nature of things around. Buddha's favorite. He says, Parinama, everything keeps changing, he says. And Tapa, and whatever I do, that brings result to me, isn't it? So if I smile at somebody and then that person starts befriending me, and then soon we get into a relationship, and then we find out that the relationship is exploitative and all that. So whatever I do, what I'm trying to say is, whatever I do brings some result, isn't it? And mostly the result is temporary, and finally result brings some suffering, isn't it? So parinama and tapa is this the result of our action. Finally it brings misery only. And samskara dukkha, I like certain things. I like ice cream, let us say, but I am diabetic, I cannot eat it. I like certain things, but I have, and finally I like certain things, and I have habit of uh, taking it, but my body doesn't allow it, isn't it? So when I'm diabetic, I love ice cream, but I cannot take it. So my habit is sitting there and grinning at me, isn't it? So my habits are also causing dukkha to me. So parinama, everything keeps changing, and that is causing difficulty. Tapa, whatever I do brings difficulty. And samskara, I like certain things and I dislike certain things. Whatever I dislike, they keep coming to me, isn't it? Whenever you see all the buses and cars going everywhere, one day when you want to go somewhere, no bus will come, isn't it? At least the buses will go in the other direction, the direction that you want to go, nothing will come. So, or when you are starting a diet plan, everybody invites you for dinner, isn't it? So at the end of the day, the world keeps testing my patience, and finally it is all miserable, he says. So parinama tapa samskara dukkaihi, and this is the summary of the world, he says. And Guna vritti virodhacha. Guna means the world keeps on changing, isn't it? Yesterday, I met the love of my life, and I used to write letters in blood to her. And then I got married, and now I want to blood. Then now she wants to take my blood, isn't it? So, whatever ideas that I have, those also keep changing. The love of my life is the my worst villain now, and my allegiance was to a certain political idea. Now it has become uh, horrible, and it is persecuting us. So our ideas, vritti, and the outside world, gunas, they both keep clashing. If I like something, world does that. If I do that, my likes keep changing. Guna vritti virodhacha. My ideas about the world and the world, they keep clashing with each other. So in the end, what is the end result? He says, Dukhameva sarvam vivekinaha. If you honestly analyze human life, it is miserable, he says. Because whoever we like, they keep going away from us, or they may pass away, or we may pass away. So that is also there. So in the end, the summary of human life, it is misery, he says. So what can we do about this? So this is the beginning of serious inquiry into life. Buddha, as he says, uh, when you find out that this is the overall summary of the world that we live, so then comes spirituality. Some of 90% of the world, they are trying different things. They're watching movies, or making new friends, and breaking up, and marrying, and divorcing, and remarrying. Everything they're trying. But a few people, a few sensitive people, sensible people, they look at life, and they try a different path, such as the spiritual path, like you people who are serious about your yoga and all that. So he says, when you are finally understanding that the world is a not really a happy place, by your 2021, you will figure it out. And then you may, if you are lucky enough, and if you have the samskara, then you may come to the spiritual path. And the whole spirituality in the whole uh, human enterprise, wherever it is, whether it is Islam or Christianity or Hinduism, all spirituality can be summarized into 4 steps. That this is something that Buddha has taught us. It's not part of the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, but I would like you to know it. Spirituality, the spiritual journey can be summarized into 4 steps. What are they? First step is dukkha. First step is to see that the world is a not exactly what I wanted. It is a miserable place. So I need happiness. Happiness is what I want, and the world is not able to give that to me. That first you must see. In the Buddha story also, you must be knowing, when he was a young boy, he discovered that the world is a miserable place, and he went out of his palace and all that. So first step, everywhere, whether it's Bhagavad Gita or Upanishad or Bhagavatam or whatever it is, the first step is dukkha. All the scriptures begin with dukkha, isn't it? And the second step is hetu. What is the cause of dukkha? He said that you have to find out. What is the cause of dukkha? We will discuss that later. So at least for the yoga part of it, for our sake, we can understand that the mind is causing dukkha, isn't it? So otherwise, the world is okay. World has certain things, and certain things are happening. I am sitting here comfortably. What is the problem? Nothing. But when my mind interacts with those events and people, it brings some suffering. So mind is essentially the cause of dukkha, he says. Okay, so what can I do about the mind? That is a third step. Dukkha is the first step. Second is hetu, cause of suffering. And the third is nirodha, how to stop the suffering in the mind. That is what we are doing here, yoga and sadhana and all that. And nirodha or samadhi practice that we can do. That is the third step. So dukkha, hetu, nirodha. And what is the practical way of stopping the mind from suffering? Marga. That is the word used by Buddha. Marga is our practical sadhana, kriya yoga and all that. So these are the 4 steps of any spiritual journey. Okay. So whenever you look at a scripture or a spiritual discussion, you must look at this. Whether they explain all these 4 steps. Okay. So now we'll get into the details of it. Heyam dukkham anagatam, he says. Patanjali says, okay, my dear man, let us sit down and discuss what is the problem. He says, whatever you have suffered till now, that I cannot help you. Okay, so what can you do? Future suffering, that I can help you, he says. Right now, what you are, that I cannot help you because you have chosen to be that. That I cannot help you. But future, in the future, how when suffering comes, how to deal with it, that I can teach you, he says. Okay, that is fine, because anyway, past is the past. We cannot do anything about it. So now let us discuss what to do in the future. At least the future we can secure. And here Patanjali is giving Patanjali has a lot of tricks up his sleeve, and here he is giving a brief flash of what he has in mind for us. So he says this statement, though it's only two words, heyam dukkham anagatam, it is a very deep statement and we have to analyze it. He says heyam means that which needs to be removed, or that which can be removed. Heyam, that which can be removed. What can be removed? Anagatam dukkham, future. Anagatam means that which has not come already, and future dukkham I can help you, he says. Okay, and the main two themes here is dukkham and future. So we have to analyze it a little. Where is the dukkham sitting? Where is the dukkham? You tell me, he says. So outside world keeps changing. That anyway I cannot do anything, and I am sitting here and a lot of things are happening outside. That doesn't affect me. That doesn't really affect me. So the world is not the problem. And okay, so and you are using your sense organs to see it. So sense organs are there to help you function, isn't it? So they are also not the problem. So then a deeper level, what is the next problem? Mind also uh, can sometimes be a problem. Some people say ignorance. You said what is that? Ahim. I'm sorry, that avidya and all that. So is avidya the problem? So there are many people who live without knowing about spirituality. They don't know spirituality, but they are living. They are managing at least. Avidya also.
It's very hot.
Chitra, please mute it.
I request the admin to please mute everybody. And okay, and okay, so ignorance also is not the problem. There are many people living happily without knowing all these subjects. So ignorance is also not the problem. But the mind, whatever the sense organs bring into my inner being, the mind keeps interpreting, aha, this is good, this is bad, and that causes suffering, isn't it? So the world anyway, you cannot change anything, and what it brings, you are at least the mind is resisting to the whatever the sense organs are bringing. So that resistance is the problem, he says. So whatever you resist, that is a problem, isn't it? So if I when there is a piece of work to be done, if you don't like the work, then that work becomes a difficulty for you, isn't it? When you enjoy it, that is an enjoyable experience for you. If you don't have any problem watching a movie or eating ice cream, isn't it? That is why because you enjoy it. So whenever the mind resists anything, that is a problem, he says. So we have to just tune up the mind, like tuning up a motorcycle. You have to just tune up the mind to happily engage with what the world brings you, he says. Okay, so that makes a little, at least I hope some of it makes sense to you. Okay, and okay, so what can we do about it? So there are two things now. You are here and the world is there, and or the mind is there and the world is there. So we have to have a healthy interaction between these two. So Patanjali right now is now trying to explain two things. Already we saw that in the yoga universe, there are only two things. What are they? Can anybody?
Prakriti and Purusha?
Prakriti and Purusha, isn't it? Purusha, who you are, the conscious living being that you are, and the whole world, including the body, mind, and all that. So now Patanjali is trying to explain that the life is a interaction between both of us, isn't it? You and the world. So now if you understand clearly how to interact, or what exactly you are and what exactly the world is, then you'll be able to manage, he says. So now he's trying to explain two things. First, what the world is, then who you are. So then when you understand both, then you can manage, he says. Drashta drashyayoho samyogaha heya hetuhu. He says, so the problem is, apparently, who I am the conscious entity, I somehow or the other forget myself and mix with the whatever the world brings, and that causes me suffering, isn't it? So this is a very funny idea, because if you really analyze it, there is no mixing, isn't it? Listen to me. So when you are suffering, where is the suffering? That is the question. Is it in your teeth? Is it in your nose? Is it in your brain? Where is the suffering? You are saying that you are suffering. Where is the suffering? He says. So maybe it's in the mind, or at least you are conscious, and then there is suffering. You are conscious of the idea of suffering, isn't it? You don't say that, "Ayyo, my consciousness is here hurting," or you may say that, my tooth hurts, or my mind is in a bad mood, so, or my mind hurts." But you don't say that, "Ayyo, my consciousness is hurting," isn't it? Nobody really says that, because consciousness is essentially something that cannot be hurt, isn't it? It is just consciousness. You cannot do anything about it, isn't it? So you who are consciousness, you cannot be essentially hurt, but when you forget that and you mix with your thoughts and other uh, intellectual ideas, then you feel hurt. So that mixing up of you who are consciousness and the ideas brought about by the mind is called samyoga here in the 17th sutra. Okay, so that is a funny idea, because consciousness, you cannot mix it with anything, isn't it? Give me one glass of consciousness, he says. You cannot do that. It is not a material thing, isn't it? It is like, Swamiji, I am going to paint the space in my room with a new paint, he says. Right? Space you cannot paint. The wall you can paint, that I understand. But space, how can you paint it? Because paint is something tangible and space is something intangible. You cannot paint the whole thing, isn't it? You will just run the brush around and get your own face dirty, isn't it? So when you say samyoga, it is essentially not possible. That is why from the first class onwards, I've been telling you, you all are liberated people, because what you say as suffering is really not part of you. It is sitting somewhere else, and you are seeing it like a dog or a cat or a rat, but you are going and hugging it, you know. So when the dog is scratching, why are you scratching? He says. So let it be there. So anyway, Swamiji, anyway, I know that I am suffering. So we need some explanation for that. So that he is giving some yoga. Apparently, you are mixing with the ideas or the events and people in the world. So that is the main problem, he says. So right now, suffering is because your prakriti and the purusha are mixed up together. And what we need to do through all sadhana is to differentiate it. These are all ideas that you should question, but I leave that to you. But let that explanation, let it be there. You know? So samyoga is the problem. Drashta drishyayoho samyoga. Drashta, who you are, who sees the universe, and drishyam. Drishyam means the universe that you are seeing. So when both of you mix together, samyoga, heya hetuhu. Then heya, which is the removable suffering, that is the cause of suffering. Heya hetuhu, he says. So mixing up is the problem, he says. Mixing up is always a problem, isn't it? When you have good chai and you are wearing a good shirt, both of them should not mix, isn't it? Even if the chai is the best chai in the world, if it mixes with your beautiful shirt, then it is gone, isn't it? Then comes the problem. Then you have to wash it and all that. So mixing is the problem, he says. Okay. So now Patanjali is trying to so who are the two things that are mixing? You, drashta, who is ever pure consciousness, and the world. Okay, now please explain to me, what are these things? Okay, I'll explain to you, he says. Now Patanjali is trying to explain the world. What do you mean by the world? He says, Prakasha Kriya Sthitishīlam, 18th Sutra. Prakasha Kriya Sthitishīlam Bhutendriyatmakam Bhoga Abhavargartham Drishyam. Okay, Swamiji, what do you mean by the world? We saw in the first session itself, any branch of study can be considered a science only if it explains three things. I hope you remember. One is the world, then second is the cause of the world, and the third is what the individual is. Modern science is also doing that, and we are also trying to do that. So what you are or what your individual experience is, Patanjali has been trying to explain throughout in the first chapter as well as here. So now he's trying to explain the second component, the Jagat, the world that you are seeing, that he's trying to explain. And okay, God also, the cause of the universe also, Patanjali tried to explain in a vague manner in the first chapter. So Ishvara is explained. Now Jagat is being explained here. Prakasha Kriya Sthidishilam. You see, as you may be remembering, yoga is based on Sankhya theory, isn't it? The first theory of Indian philosophy. So Sankhya philosophy is what is the basis of Yoga Shastra. And in Sankhya philosophy, or in most Indian sciences, the universe is said to be made up of three energies. And like we study in our modern science also, isn't it? Kinetic energy, potential energy, and gravity, and all that. So in the same way, they are not synonyms, but they are somewhat comparable. He says three energies are there in the universe. I want you to understand the basics, and then it will be very easy for you. So three energies make up the universe. What are they? Prakasham, that is sattva, rajas, and tamas. These are three technical terms for three energies that make up the universe. We may, in the other idea, we may say solid, liquid, gas, and all that. But fundamentally, what is the universe made up of? Energy, which can be potential, kinetic, or gravitational energy, isn't it? So in the same way, the first energy in the Indian system, don't compare both of them. They are both two different systems. In the Indian system, in the Sankhya system, the three energies are Prakasha, the energy, light energy. It's not exactly light energy, but the energy that helps us to know things, to uh, so, for example, if light energy was not there, we wouldn't be interacting. We will not be able to see the universe, isn't it? Because everything is dark, as they say. So light energy, that is sattva, and second, I'm telling you again and again, this I'm using these modern science terms just to familiarize you. They are not equivalents, but I'm just trying to put it in familiar terms. So second one is the energy of motion, kinetic energy. That is rajas, as they call it, or kriya. Any energy that is used to move or make work be done, that is called kriya or rajas. Okay, so that is sattva, first one. Second is rajas, and the third one is tamas, which is the energy that keeps you in a stable position, say gravity, or what is that, potential energy. So light energy, kinetic energy. I think I mixed up the second one. Kriya is kinetic energy, the energy which keeps you moving, or ability to move, So, and the third one is ability to stay there. So these three things we need, isn't it? If I keep on moving, if I keep running around, the class will not be happening, isn't it? So I need some potential energy to stay here. You also should stay there, at least till 12 o'clock you have to bear with me. So you need some potential energy to sit there and listen to me. So all these three energies we need. It's not that we can avoid one, isn't it? So all these three energies we use, and that together makes up the universe, he says. Okay. And what is our experience of the universe? We use this body with the sense organs and come to know about the universe, isn't it? Bhuta Indriyatmakam. Our essential experience of the universe is using the body and the sense organs. Bhuta Indriyatmakam. And okay, so what is the purpose of the universe? He says, universe has only two purposes. What is that? Bhoga, one is to enjoy. Or see, the purpose of the universe is to see. It is a philosophical statement, actually. If you are not there, then in your story, in your unique, beautiful story, if you are not there, does the story have any meaning in it? Does your universe have any meaning in it if you are not there? Isn't it? So your universe, as you know, Sankhya is a multiverse, or a system that believes that all of you are unique individuals. It is a dualistic theory. Okay, so all of us are unique individuals in this system. So if you are not there, your universe has no meaning, isn't it? So in a way, in a philosophical or in a poetical way, you can say that the universe, your universe, not the shared common universe, I'm talking about your experiential universe. Your experiential universe finds meaning in you, isn't it? Does that make sense to you? Does it or does it not?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the whole purpose of your narrative or your universe is your enjoyment, isn't it? You are the central character in the story, isn't it? You are the protagonist, isn't it? So you are the hero of the story, isn't it? Or the heroine of the story, isn't it? So bhoga apavargartham drishyam is the main purpose of your narrative or your story or your universe is your enjoyment or your narrative. Okay, so you bhogam is the main one. Bhogam, don't take it as the conventional meaning. Bhoga means to eat or consume, so don't take that meaning. The meaning here is the purpose of the universe is for the indwelling purusha or the consciousness that you are. If that is not there, universe has no meaning, he says. Bhogam. And the same universe that is causing all this problem can be used to ensure liberation also. Apavarga means moksha or liberation. So you can use this universe to enjoy and have a happy time, as well as you can or suffer. Bhoga means both. It can bring happy as well as miserable experiences, isn't it? So universe can be bhoga, or you can use the same universe to liberate yourself. How is that? That we'll see, don't worry. But universe has only two purposes: bhoga, enjoy, and liberation. So get free from all those experiences and become who you really are. Not become, see who you really are. So this is what is called drishyam. The universe is this, made up of three energies known through body and mind, a body or sense organs, and it has only two purposes. What are they? To undergo all those experiences or to liberate yourself. This is the purpose of the universe, he says. Okay. And okay, so here the next sutra, he is explaining, okay, what you gave some funny ideas, potential energy, kinetic energy, blah blah, but can you really explain it to me with all the nuts and bolts? Can you explain it to me? So okay, I will try to explain it to you. So Patanjali, or what is that, Sankhya theory, is trying to explain the components of the universe. So I may need permission to share my screen here, because I need to share a picture with you. So can you do that? Okay, so while the admin does that, let me go into
You can, yes.
okay. Share. Okay. I hope the picture is fully visible to you.
Yes, Swami.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the Sankhya and yoga follow the same system. So Sankhya / yoga system or architecture of the universe. This is the universe, he says. And I have intentionally kept a mistake in this picture. So let's see who finds out. Okay. So as I had mentioned in the first session, any system that explains the universe made up of 25 components is called Sankhya. One by one, you can list out the components of the universe. That is called a Sankhya system. Okay, so universe is essentially made up of 25 components, your experiential universe. And out of that, two things are there. What are they? Purusha, the guy who is pointing at yourself, you who are the consciousness, and 24 other piece of matter. Okay, which can be subtle, gross, tangible, intangible, and all that. So prakriti altogether, matter altogether, including your mind and thoughts and ideas and all of that is also matter, subtle matter. So all matter and you who are seeing the matter, this is the universe, he says. Okay, that's a strange way of explaining it, but it works, he says. So I hope you are able to see that. And so the universe is made up of 25 components, and which is 24 types of prakriti, and you who is seeing all that, purusha, or the consciousness. And this 24 types of prakriti, which you can see, that is why I have kept a pair of bulging eyes there. You are able to know it, isn't it? Universe, you are always other than the universe. That is the main idea. So that is a mistake in the picture, that when I say universe, it includes actually only the 24 things that you can sense, and you who are seeing it is essentially different from it. Okay, so prakriti is what we are seeing, and it has 8 plus 16 things. What are they? 8 plus 16 is 24, isn't it? So they are 8 fundamental natures and 16 modifications. Okay, this is an architecture of the universe in the Sankhya system. 8 fundamental things and 16 modified things. You mix and match all these things and make 16 other things. So 8 and 16, 24. This is the architecture of the universe. I'll send you this picture through Prasadji, so don't worry about it. So let us look at the sutra. What is the universe? He says, Vishesha, Avishesha, Lingamatra, Alingani, Guna Parvani. The whole universe, which is made up of energy, gunas, is made up of Vishesha, Avishesha, Lingamatra, and Alinga. All the 24 have been listed here. I'll explain it to you in detail, don't worry. So 8 fundamental things and 16 modified things. Okay. And out of these 8 fundamental things, which is 8 fundamental natures, they are called avisheshas. It's a technical term, you know. They are classified together as, and in Sanskrit it is called avishesha. Don't worry, we'll list it. So what are the 8 fundamental things? You see, the matter, which is essentially Prakriti, that is, as we see in modern systems also, it is a fundamental thing which is not just colorless, odorless, and tasteless like space. It is even subtler than space. Space came from this fundamental matter as per this your Sankhya system. So it is something even beyond space, but it is something like space. It has no form. So that is called avyaktam, the fundamental matter of the universe. That is called Moola Prakriti or Avyaktam. Avyaktam because it has no form, and Moola Prakriti, it is the fundamental nature, or that alone has evolved into all other things that we see today. So it is Moola Prakriti, that is called Avyaktam. So it cannot be pointed out like this because it has no form. So that is why it is called Alinga, as you can see here. And then what happened, you know, like the Big Bang kick started, then that Alinga, which gave rise to something a little bit more gross. It is called Lingamatra, or it has one form. What is that form? It is the cosmic intelligence behind the current universe that you and I are seeing. So first, it is Moola Prakriti, and first step, what is the Big Bang, or not Big Bang, but what is the first step? It gave rise to cosmic intelligence, so that you can design the universe as you see it today. So that is called Mahat, or the cosmic intelligence. That is called Lingamatra in the Sankhyan theory. Okay. So Linga, why is it called Lingamatra? It has one sign. What is that? That intelligence has a certain ego to it. I am going to create the universe, or I am the doer of the universe. That a certain sense of doership is there. So that is why it is called Mahat, the great intelligence. So cosmic intelligence. So that is why it is called Lingamatra. It has one linga, or one property. What is that? Ego, or it has that doership. So that is called Lingamatra. So Avyaktam, then Lingamatra, then came the limited ego. The limited, we all need limited egos to function, isn't it? Ego means not the traditional meaning of it, but our unique individuality. That is what we are calling as ahankara, or ego. That also is needed for each component of the universe to exist. It needs some individuality, isn't it? Otherwise, you cannot. Everything is a soup. You will not know what is what, isn't it? So that individuality is
Swamiji,
called.
I have one question. You told
yes.
as far as I understood till now, that intelligence is called consciousness, right? I was thinking that is Purusha, but you are telling.
No.
Okay.
Okay. As we discussed, let me go a little bit more slower. You are there. You who are the consciousness and the universe. Only 2 things are there. I hope that's clear. And the universe that you are seeing and observing, that has some intelligence behind it, some laws behind it, like gravitation and thermodynamics and all that, isn't it? So the universe and you, 2 things, and the universe is what we are seeing in this picture and trying to explain. So that universe has some intelligent designing capacity behind it. But of course, you need a consciousness to guide that intelligence. That is there. So what I'm trying to say is, you who are the consciousness is essentially different from even the subtle nature of the universe. Okay. So you who are consciousness is not intelligence. Of course, that I would call it intellect. Cosmic intellect is what we are talking about in this context, as we call it Mahat. That cosmic intellect to design and create the universe, that is called uh, Mahat here. And you who are the enlivening consciousness that is giving the capacity to function, that is something different. Okay, I hope that is clear now. Okay, so the whole universe that you are seeing has certain intelligent design behind it. That part is called Mahat, Linga Matra. And consciousness is very much different from the uh, matter, because as you can see, all of this is part of Mula Prakriti, isn't it? Mula Prakriti has alone become all this intelligent designing and all that. So it is ever different from I, or the conscious self-awareness that you are. Okay, we'll come to that, don't worry. Consciousness, again, in the next sutra Patanjali is explaining, so don't worry. So but it is different from the universe. That is what I'm trying to explain. So the universe with its names and forms has a certain intellect or intelligent behavior, that is called Mahat. And each component of the universe has a certain individuality, that is called Ahankara. That also is there in the Sankhyan architecture. And then this Mula Prakriti, which has evolved into Mahat and Ahankara, then it evolved into 5 things: sound, touch, form, taste, smell. Don't confuse them with the sense organs. These are these are called tan matras. That is the first components of the universe. Tadu matra means it has only one property. That is, sound has the only property is to be able to be heard, isn't it? It has no other property. Of course, when it comes to sense organs and contact and all that, then different types of sounds are there. That is there. But the essential capacity to express as sound, that is what we're talking about here. Tada matra, its only nature is sound. And the second tanmatra is touch. Its only nature is being known through touch. It's a little subtle. I appreciate your effort to try to understand it, but please bear with me. Okay, so components of the universe, they are, the first component is the tanmatras, the capacity to be expressed as the 5: sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. If sound was not there, your ears have no function, isn't it? They are just 2 holes in your body. So first sound has to be there, then only the sense organ can evolve and take the form as it is today, isn't it? So sound, touch, form, taste, and smell, these 5 tanmatras, they are the first things to evolve out of the universe. Then only the other things came, he says. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. So the 5 tanmatras, ahankara, mahat, and avyaktam, the fundamental matter. These are the 8 fundamental natures of the universe. And then mix and match. Then other 16 components came. Then it became the 24 components. Okay, so what are the the Vishesha or the modified components? They are, what are they? Then came the 5 sense organs. Once sound, touch, smell, etc. came, then you need some instruments to know them, isn't it? So then came the sense organs, the 5 jnana indriyas, sense organs. And then when you receive input, you need to respond also. So action organs or karma indriyas, then they also evolved. So 5 sense organs: eye, ear, skin, etc. And then 5 action organs: speech, hands and legs, your anus, and your reproductive organ. So I think some spelling mistake is there, you please bear with me. And so these 5 sense organs and 5 action organs, they also evolved. Then came, so when I say sense organs, don't look at the eye or the round thing that is sitting in on your face. That's not what I mean. When I say eyes, it is the capacity to see, not the, this is only a piece of flesh, which is made of carbon and silicon and phosphorus. But the capacity to see is what I am talking about as when I say sense organs. Okay, and the capacity to respond through speech is called a speech or karma indriya, not the actual tongue that you are wiggling around when you are talking. That is not the meaning. So the capacity is called a indriya. Okay, so 5 sense organs and 5 action organs. Then came the 5 pancha mahabhutas, as you know, fire, wind, and space and earth and all that. Then we mixed up all these things and made the gross body and fitted them with eyes and ears and all that, and the indriyas, the capacity to see and touch and all that were installed. The software was installed in this hardware, and then to process all this information, a mind was also developed, and finally the universe has been uh, designed as you can see today. So this is the 24 component architecture of the universe. I hope that is not too complicated for you. And it's a little complicated. I know it's a little subtle idea, but this is a way of explaining the universe as we experience it. So this picture I will share with you, don't worry. And now we come back to the sutras. So this is the 24 component architecture of the universe. I hope that makes sense to you. Can you nod for me if it made sense to you? Okay, very good. So Patanjali says this is the composition of the universe. Vishesha, the 5 elements and all that. Avishesha, the 16 components. Lingamatra, which is Mahat, the cosmic intellect, and Alinga, which is the fundamental nature, fundamental Mula Prakriti. All of this put together, the 24 things, is made up of energies, gunas. Vishesha, Avishesha, Lingamatra, Alingani, Gunaparvani. It is a very fundamental architecture of the universe that you must know if you plan to become a yoga teacher. Okay, so now you have confused me enough, and the universe you have explained. So now what is the second component? You have to explain you, isn't it? Consciousness and 24 prakritis. So now we come to your consciousness. Okay, he says drishta. This is a very fundamental idea. So I would like you to sit quiet and tell the mind to shut up and listen to me. Both your head and heart must join in this discussion. This 20th sutra, it is a very fundamental sutra. So please listen carefully. Drashta drishimatraha shuddhaha api pratyayanupashyaha, he says. Okay, he says drashta, who is the seer of the universe, he says. Okay, let me put it in a much more simpler way. As I asked you before, who is the central character in your story? You are the central character, isn't it? So, and all other relationships, whether it is father or mother or boyfriend or husband or whatever it is, or your girlfriend or your mama, chacha, everything, it is all essentially based on their relationship with you, isn't it? If you are not there, none of these ideas have any meaning, isn't it? Not only that, what is the dearest thing in the universe for you, in this experiential universe? Is it your dog? Is your cat? Is it your girlfriend or boyfriend? What is it? What I'm trying to say is, all these people or all these relationships, why are they valuable to you?
Because they're connected to us.
Because they're connected to us, isn't it? So Patanjali is giving you a little devious explanation. He says, why are they valuable to you? Because they are connected to you, isn't it? So what is really valuable? Is it you or them?
It's us.
It is us, isn't it? Swamiji, all this, there are my children, my dear children. There are so many children in the universe. Why are these children dear to you? Because they're my children, isn't it? So essentially, I am more valuable than my children. It is not a very good statement, but essentially it is true, isn't it? The husband is my dear husband because I am there, isn't it? The husband is essentially you, the husband or the wife. They are valuable not because they are lovable or all that, because they love you, isn't it? When you say I love you, if they say thank you, then that will be the end of it, isn't it? They have to reciprocate, isn't it? So so all love, all value, everything is based on you, isn't it? If so, essentially you are the central point of the universe, the central purpose and meaning of your universe. That is what Patanjali is trying to say. Drashta, Drishimatraha, the central protagonist of the universe, who is seeing all these ideas, including outer objects like father, mother, and all that, and also your internal relationships with them. All of that is based on you, who is the most sacred, valuable thing in the universe. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, so all your ideas, even your Patanjali Yoga Sutra and your yoga certificate and your teacher's training, everything is seen by you, isn't it? If you are not there, none of these things have any meaning, isn't it? So that you, that essential you, free of all ideas, who sees all these ideas, Patanjali Yoga Sutra, everything is just sitting in a corner in your mind, isn't it? You who are seeing the mind, who is observing the mind, that fundamental you is the uh, point of all this, he says. Drashta, drishimatraha, it is, and it is ever untouched, he says. All your suffering and in suffering actually is only an idea in your head, isn't it? When you're sleeping, there is no suffering, isn't it? So when you're say suffering or sorrow or misery or mind or habit, samskara, what is that? Jatyayur bhogaha, everything, all that nonsense is just sitting in a corner in your mind, and you are seeing it. You are the pure, untouched being who is seeing it. Drashta, drishimatraha, shuddhopi. Shuddha is essentially pure because you have not been touched or what is that? You are in an uncharted area because that part has not been touched by any of these ideas, he says. You are ever free from all of that. Shuddhaha api pratyayanupashyaha. All ideas are seen in the light of that consciousness. So that part you have to again and again reflect and meditate and figure it out you for yourself if you wish to take benefit of the all the study, he says. Okay, so can you give some more hints about what you're talking about? Tadartha eva drishyasya atma. The whole universe, the whole point of the universe is this central character, he says. It is not even a character, it is just you. All the names and forms and characters are all just part of prakriti, and you who are observing the prakriti is untouched by all this. Tadartha eva drishyasya atma. Atma here means artha here means the purpose, if your purpose is to study, then you are called a vidyarthi, a student, isn't it? If your purpose is to find a job, then you are called a job seeker, isn't it? Udyogarthi. So artha, the word artha in Sanskrit always means the purpose. So tadartha, for him or that him or her, whatever it is, for that Purusha or that essential consciousness or that who you are, for that only this universe is there, he says, or this narrative or this story is there, he says. Tadartha eva drishyasya atma. The purpose of the universe is for that. So this shloka or this sutra, this 21st sutra, if you meditate on it deeply enough, then you become liberated from all these funny ideas of liberation and all that. Liberation also is a funny idea that is just sitting there, you don't essentially need it because you are already liberated and you are already a happy person. Why do you say that? Because your idea about unhappiness, it is also sitting in a corner in the mind, and you who are seeing it is essentially free from it, he says. So meditate on it and find out. And so once you meditate on it and find out for yourself that you are unaffected and untouched by the universe, then you become a happy person. Then the universe is no more a problem for you, isn't it? So when somebody calls you a donkey, you can smile. Or when somebody calls you a son of a donkey or a daughter of a donkey, then you can smile because you know who your parent is. So you can retort in happiness, isn't it? But if you have some doubt, then you will get angry and prove him that you are a donkey by kicking him, isn't it? So if you meditate on this sutra and see who you are, and then you'll be free, he says. Kritartham prati nashtam api anashtam. Next sutra. So once you figure out who you are, then you become pleasant, you become a kritartha. You found out the purpose of the universe. What is the purpose? We discussed before that. What is that? Bhoga apavargartham drishyam. So when any piece of information is presented to you by the universe, you have the capacity to stay in this viveka, this discrimination, that this is a piece of information presented by the mind, and I am the seer of the mind who is ever free from the mind. So this is how you use the universe as a for liberation. The same universe, the problematic universe, is the dog and the cat and the rat and the grinning wife and the miserable children. The whole universe can be used to liberate yourself. When you see them, you know who you are. Isn't it? If they were not, actually it's an exchange. If they were not there, you would not be thinking about who you are, isn't it? Only if they bother you, oh, now I need some liberation, he says. So universe, that we'll come to that. So Patanjali says universe actually helps you become liberated. All this while we were thinking that universe is the problem causing all this problem, isn't it? But Patanjali puts a positive twist into that. He says universe proves that you are consciousness, and universe proves that you are essentially liberated, he says. We'll come to that, don't worry. So kritartham prati nashtam. So when you are kritartha, when you're happy, then the universe is not a problem, isn't it? When for example, you check your son was writing a what is that, IAS examination, let us say, and he got the first rank. You check the roll number in the newspaper and you saw that your child got the first rank. Then you're so happy, isn't it? Then you buy 1,000 copies of newspaper and distribute everywhere because you want everybody to see it, because you are happy, isn't it? Then when you checked the enrollment number, then you figure out that one digit is missing and your neighbor is the child who got the first rank. Then you suddenly become miserable, isn't it? You want to throw the newspaper at everybody, isn't it? So what I'm trying to say is, when you're happy, you are able to include everything. The whole universe is, you can put it on your shoulder because you are happy. But when you are miserable, you don't even want to lift the newspaper, isn't it? You don't feel like getting up in the morning, isn't it? So when you are liberated, when you are a happy person, then the universe is manageable, he says. Kritartham prati nashtam. What is nashtam here? The purpose or the problematic nature of the universe is lost when you are happy, he says. Kritartham prati nashtam. When you're happy, universe is no more a problem. Okay. And what about the others? If you are happy, just because you are happy, the rest, all others, they may be still unhappy, isn't it? They will be still torturing you and bothering you, isn't it? So father will be scolding, mother will be shouting, dog will be barking, everything will be there, but you will be happy. Once you are happy, all of that can be managed, he says. So kritartham prati nashtam abhi. Even if you are happy, universe will be like this only. Don't expect that you studied Patanjali Yoga Sutra, meditated and find out and liberated. Don't think that universe will be a happy place again. Universe will be same miserable place only. But you will be happy. That is the promise, he says. Kritartham prati nashtam. For the kritartha, for the happy person, universe is no more a problem. The horns of the problem have been broken. Nashtam. And what about the others? They are still miserable, he says. Tadarth anya sadharanatvat. For others, universe is still same. So you discover that the whole universe is just the Mula Prakriti, just taking funny forms. And that is not a problem for me because I am the seer of Mula Prakriti and I am ever liberated. But what is your neighbor thinking? Oh, this guy is office rocker and he is simply smiling for no reason. Something is wrong with you. So the universe will be saying like that and you will be a liberated, happy being, he says. Okay, that I hope that makes at least that possibility makes some sense to you. And he says he's expanding on this idea. He says, so Swami Shaktyoho Swarupa Ubalabdhi Hetuhu Samyoga. That is what I mentioned before. When we discussed the root of the problem. What is the root of the problem? The you who are consciousness and the universe is mixing up. We termed it Samyoga. In the not yoga, some yoga, mixing up of consciousness and matter, which is a funny idea, but that some yoga is causing the suffering. We saw that in the 17th sutra. So he says, so my dear man, don't blame some yoga. Some yoga essentially is needed for you to start thinking about yourself seriously, he says. Only when you suffer, then you study Patanjali Yoga Sutra, isn't it? If you're happy and rich and all that, who cares about yoga, isn't it? I am already having a party, isn't it? So some yoga or misery actually is a prompting for you to discover yourself, he says. So Patanjali is giving a positive twist to some yoga. Mixing up is actually helping you to find yourself, he says. So Swami Shaktyoho Swarupa Ubalabdhi Hetuhu Samyoga. Swarupa Ubalabdhi. When Samyoga helps you find who you really are, he says. Ubalabdhi Hetuhu. You get access into your spiritual nature because of Samyoga. Ubalabdhi Hetuhu Samyoga. So Samyoga or this Suffering helps you discover yourself. So don't worry. Let the universe be like that. Let the pandemic go on, and or you just wear your mask, isn't it? So you don't have to carpet the whole universe. You just have to put a pair of slippers, isn't it? If the whole world is full of thorns, you don't have to carpet the whole universe. You have to just put a pair of shoes, isn't it? Or if the whole world is in a pandemic and oxygen deficiency and all that, what should you do? You just wash your hands and put a mask, isn't it? And you're happy, isn't it? So you can, and if your friends also do the same, you can be safe. In the same way, some yoga can be managed if you are able to see yourself, he says. Okay. So Swami Shakti, so Swashakti is your consciousness. So here in Sanskrit is a Dvandva Samasam, two words are like you say Rama Lakshmana. Oh, Rama and Lakshmana are together called Rama Lakshmana. In the same way, Swami Shakti, he says Swashakti and Swami Shakti. So the capacity of the universe and the capacity to see the universe. These are two powers which are functioning to make you see the universe. So when these get mixed up, which is called Samyoga, but don't blame Samyoga because it helps you see who you are. I hope this is not too much information for you. Okay, is that okay for you now? Is everybody on board? Yes. Okay. Okay, Swamiji, I like your explanation and all that, or Patanjali, I like your explanation, but at the end of the day, I'm suffering. Okay, okay. You want some explanation for your suffering, isn't it? That I can give you. Tasya hetura vidya. So if you're suffering, what is the problem? Avidya. In your brain, let us say, avidya is sitting there and scratching you and causing the problem. So what should I do? Remove avidya. What is the cause of the problem? Tasya hetuhu avidya. Your suffering is, or your samyoga. Here tasya means samyogasya. You're mixing up and you're suffering. What is the cause of it? Avidya. Avidya is sitting in your brain like a virus and telling you that no, don't listen to Patanjali, don't listen to Yoga Sutra. You are still a miserable creature. This funny idea is sitting in your head and making you suffering, he says. Even if you are the consciousness ever pure and all that, if this funny idea is sitting there, then it will cause all your problems, isn't it? Just like the whole universe is there, but if you put a little finger on your eyes, then you can become blind, isn't it? It only takes one hand to cover your eyes and make you blind, isn't it? So in the same way, the whole universe, Jupiter and Mars and constellations is all there, but it only takes one little finger to make it all go, isn't it? In the same way, a little funny idea called avidya can, even if you are pure consciousness and liberated and all that, if avidya is there, you are gone, my dear, he says. So we have to remove avidya, he says. Okay, that we have to do. Tasya hetuhu avidya. So what can you do about that? Tad abhavad samyoga abhavaha hanam. So if you remove that little what is that shoe, I'm sorry, that stone in your shoe, let us say, then you can walk freely, isn't it? The little piece of rock is causing all this problem, or that little avidya is causing all this problem. So if you remove that, you can be a happy person. Tad abhavat, when avidya is gone, tad abhavat samyoga bhavaha, then samyoga cannot function because samyoga needs avidya. So somebody needs to close your eyes to make it dark. So if the hands are removed, then sunlight will just flash in your face, isn't it? So you just need to remove that avidya, he says. Samyoga bhavaha, when the hands are removed, it is sun shines, isn't it? In the same way, when avidya is removed, samyoga is not there, darkness is not there. Hanam, your suffering is immediately removed. Hanam means to destroy, So what is that? Your suffering is automatically destroyed, isn't it? When you bring a light, darkness automatically goes, isn't it? You don't have to take a bucket and remove darkness, isn't it? Just light a match and darkness will go, isn't it? So just see who you are, and then avidya just gets kicked out, he says. Then you become liberated. Then comes kaivalyam. When avidya is gone, you become kaivalyam. You become liberated. Okay, that I like that idea. So and you will become liberated forever. It's not that after the Patanjali Yoga Sutra class, then you become miserable again. No, you will be permanently happy all the time. Viveka khyatihi aviplava hanopaya. What is the upaya? As I told you, spirituality has 4 steps: dukkha, hetu, nirodha, and marga. As Buddha told you, what is a marga? What is the means to be happy all the time? Viveka khyati. You have to discriminate between you, who you are, and the universe. Viveka should be there. Viveka means to discriminate, you should know who you are. Otherwise, you will be mixing up. So Viveka, when this inherent idea of who you are is essentially with you, then and you are always a happy being without mixing in the universe, or without mixing in the funny ideas of the universe, then you can be happy. So you should have Viveka all the time. You should remember, or I wouldn't say remember, because remembrance is also a part of the mind. You should be happy all the time. Viveka khyatihi aviplava, without breaking it. Don't forget, Ayo Swami, I forgot to discriminate between Prakriti and Purusha. It's not like that. If once you know who you are, you don't need to remember it, isn't it? You don't need your ID card or Aadhaar card to know who you are. You know, isn't it? Others need your ID card. That is there. But for you, you don't need anything, isn't it? So that aparoksha jnanam, or without any other exterior help, if you know, Viveka khyatihi aviplava. If 24/7 you are happy, that is called hanopaya. That is called the method of removing hanam or dukkham. Okay, so Patanjali must be in full blown explanation. He is giving you can imagine that scene, the Himalayas, it's all snowy and beautiful, snow-clad mountains, and Patanjali is sitting on a pedestal near a banyan tree, and he's explaining in full inspiration that, my dear man, my dear students, if Viveka Khyati, if your self-knowledge can be preserved all the time, then you can be happy all the time, he says. Whenever you say your love story or your personal narrative, some rascal friends are always there. When you explain yourself, I saw the love of my life for the first time, and then she smiled, and then I proposed to her, and then she hugged me, and all that. Then this rascal friend will come and ask you, okay, what was that like? He will ask you, isn't it? So in the same way, Patanjali is explaining in full inspiration that Viveka Khyati, if you can maintain it all the time, then you can be happy. And then some middle bencher asked, what's that like? He says. he doesn't really trust the teacher. He says, what's that like? What do you mean by Viveka Khyati all the time? He said, so Patanjali must have been a little depressed by now. I explained all this, and then you're asking what that experience is like. Okay, I'll tell you. He says, Tasya saptadha pranta bhumi prajna. He says that experience of all the time Viveka Khyati, it has 7 steps, or 7 explanations can be given. What are they? That Patanjali Yoga Sutra doesn't list it. If you look at the Vyasa Bhashya, that 7 steps are there. So that I can briefly hint you. The first step is, I have fully understood dukkha. The universe is a miserable place. So I need to find some space within myself and see myself clearly. That is the first step. Then what is the cause of the suffering? It is the mind. That is the second step. I'm just running through it. You can refer the Vyasa Bhashya and find out. And so for that, to manage the mind, I need to meditate and establish myself in Viveka Khyati, as the scriptures say. And once I see myself for myself, then I am happy. And then the problematic nature of the universe is gone. So now I am happy by myself. These are the 7 steps. Okay. So don't worry about it. We'll see it in detail. Don't worry. But so Patanjali is giving that explanation that undisturbed state of Viveka Khyati has 7 steps. What are they? Going from dukkha to happiness, from what is that? Sorrow to happiness, or permanent happiness. It has 7 steps, he says. Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, but how do I get it? How you explained it very beautiful, but I want it. How do I get it? He says, yoganga anushthanad ashuddhikshaye jnanadiptihi aviveka khyatehe. If you follow the 8-limbed system of yoga as explained by Patanjali, then you can master happiness. Okay, so this from here onwards, if you are a yoga teacher, you should know these sutras. How many systems, how many steps are there in Patanjali's yoga method, practical yoga? 8 steps, Ashtanga yoga, as we call it. Okay, so now practical tips to be happy, practical tips to see yourself is being explained. I'll stop now with this sutra. Yoga anga anushthanad Ashuddhikshaye jnana deeptihi aviveka khyatehe. When you follow the yoga with its limbs, what are the limbs? We'll see, don't worry. The yoga system of Patanjali, which has 8 limbs, if you follow it, Anushtanada, what happens? Your impurity, your avidya will go. Then what happens? Jnana deeptihi, your real happiness will, blast forth, and you will be happy all the time. Avivega khyate. Why is the reason? Because you know that universe is there and I am here and not affected by it. This next 29 sutra, if you are a yoga teacher, you are supposed to know it. What are the 8 limbs of Patanjali's yoga? Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. These are the 8 limbs. This is what the sutra says. What are the 8 limbs? Yamaniyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhayo, Ashtangani. These are the 8 limbs of Patanjali Yoga. What are they? That we'll discuss in the next class. I hope you are able to follow. And if you have any questions, please make a note of it and we can discuss. Hari Om. Everybody is sleeping or what?
Sir, I have one question. I'm not sure if it is the right time to ask or if, but because we are talking about consciousness and the body, I just have one question that there are thoughts in the mind, and then there is a consciousness which we usually call as intuition or the instinct. How do we get to know if the voice that is running in my mind
I didn't get the audio.
Internet issue.
sorry. So, yeah. So till where? Okay. So, is there an easy way, or is there some way to understand if what we are, thinking or taking that action is based on what my thoughts are, or what my intention is actually telling me? Because there are a lot of times when I try to follow my instinct, but I'm not sure if it is my instinct or is it just my thoughts or my fear that is causing that action to be taken.
Okay. And trying to answer your question. First of all, we need to understand that when you say instinct, that also is a certain choice that the mind is suggesting, isn't it? So if I act this way, it may work out or it may not. So what I'm trying to say is that also is a suggestion from a deeper part of your mind, isn't it? What we call heart and all that. So heart, okay, it's a funny idea, but I would say heart is a much more purer part of your being, or that part of your mind which only wants to love you and bring happiness to you. But essentially we have to distinguish what we experience with what we are studying in the scripture. Okay, so essentially there are only 2 things. What are they? Consciousness and matter. And matter includes the mind and your intellect and all that. So what we call instinct is also part of the prakriti. It is maybe it's a good part of the prakriti, that which is trying to help you, but it is very much different from who you are. Okay, so what you call instinct is also a part of the mind only. And if you act in a certain way, sometimes we act according to our instinct and it doesn't work out, isn't it? When somebody shouts at me, my instinct is to give one on their face, isn't it? But if I give, I'll get 5 back, isn't it? So instinct may not always be for the good. Generally it is for the good, but instinct can also put you in trouble also, isn't it? People who steal and kill, they are also following their instincts, isn't it? They felt like doing and they did it, isn't it? So instinct is also, and instinct is designed by your background, isn't it? If you have been a very poor slum, you were brought up from a very poor miserable situation, then you would not, your instinct will tell you to steal, isn't it? When you're hungry, you should steal and ensure survival of the body, isn't it? That becomes your instinct, isn't it? So what I'm trying to say is instinct is also a culture or a product of your background and a product of your mind and a product of your culture and upbringing and all that. So instinct, it is good to trust your instincts, as they say, but it is not always good. So consciousness, which who you are that being who is knowing the instinct. When the mind says this is my instinct, you are that being or who is aware of that choice. So please distinguish between consciousness, who you are, and the instinct. Instinct comes from a subtle area of the mind, but it is also mind and it is also prakriti. And when you see that for yourself in meditation, then you will be able to distinguish it, and then you will be calm. Then mind will function according to your plan, and the right instincts will come, and then you will be able to make the efficient choices. That comes in the next few slokas. Good that you asked now. So how to make the best instinctive choices? What values will help me make the right choices? That comes in the just next sutra. So good that you asked, and we will discuss that in the next session. Don't worry. But instinct is also part of the mind, and you are that untouched pure area which is free from even instinct. You are ever liberated. That is the idea. Please meditate on it and you will find out. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. One more thing also that I have is, there are a lot of times that situations are not in your control. Like right now, things are not in my control and nothing's going as per my plan. What is the best way for me to be in that? Should I just surrender and
Okay.
the good cause, or should I try to do something to change it? But that is again fighting it. So there are times when you don't understand what to do.
Okay. Okay. So the universe, as we discussed, it will bring a lot of things to you. Okay, so things will go wrong. Your relatives may go away. Your friends may go away. You may get rejected. All these, pleasurable and miserable experiences will come. Can you do something about it? If you decide to do something about it, can you really do something about it? Can you stop the pandemic? No. Can you invent a vaccine? No. Can you do anything essentially in the universe? You basically, the universe, prakriti as we call it, it is functioning on its own, isn't it? The individual cannot basically do anything about it. Is it? That is why Patanjali says, Ishvara pranidhanadva. He says, even if you try meditation and all that, if that doesn't work out, tell it to God, fix it. Or Ishvara pranidhanad, you surrender it to God. God who is capable, who is managing the universe. That is his headache, isn't it? When you are in a train, when you get into the train, you have to put your bag down and sit and relax, isn't it? You are saying that your power train or the poor train, it is carrying all this heavy load. Let me carry my baggage. At least that much I will help. That is a funny idea, isn't it? You can, once the train is moving, you don't have to carry the bag. You can put it down, isn't it? In the same way, all your problems and troubles, they are part of the universe, and the universe will manage. Don't worry. And if you have enough sadhana and you have enough faith, shraddha, veera, smriti and all that, then the solution will come to you. Don't worry, he says. So all you have to do is mask up and take care of yourself, and things will manage. Ishvara pradit. That is why faith is a very important aspect in spirituality. That is why we saw that in the first chapter itself. For Uttama Adhikari, you have to have faith and you have to sincerely believe in the scripture. And that, of course, believe, I don't like this idea of faith and belief and all that. My logical intellect doesn't agree with it. But okay, your right intellect, you tell me a solution for the pandemic or the problems that you are facing. That I don't have. Then shut up, he says. So you have to trust the universe a little. That also comes in the next few verses. You have to trust the universe a little bit. You have to trust your instincts, as they say, and you have to trust prakriti to take care of yourself. Sometimes it is difficult. I understand that it is difficult to keep faith, but if you keep faith, the best things comes for those who are waiting, isn't it? Those who wait. So trust the universe, Ishvara pranidhanadva, trust God, and as they say, keep calm and what is that? Say namaste or something. Don't worry. The problems will, smile and grin a little, and then it will be okay. That is one method. Otherwise, you can do. And don't trust the universe like that. Okay, so God should come and fix all my problems. That also is not there. You have to do abhyasam. You have to manage yourself, isn't it? You have to eat right and exercise and keep your body healthy and all that. So the universe is essentially half your effort and half universe, isn't it? Both you, Prakriti and Purusha should come together and dance together to make the universe happen. So keep yourself happy and healthy, and then solutions will come. Don't worry, he says. I hope that helps. I hope you heard what I said. Okay, I think I got cut off. Okay, we are exceeding our time. I think no more questions are there. I trust Prasadji to do what is
Anybody want to ask anything? Very serious. Okay, yeah. Then we'll conclude it. Nobody have anything to ask.
Sir, Divya here, sir.
Divya here.
Yeah. So sorry, my mic had some problem. Sir, you were saying in Bhagavad Gita and Patanjali Sutra and what Buddha believed, that they decided the world, first they come with the conclusion that the world is a horrible place, it's a bad place, and a lot of misery is happening. And then they changed it. I mean, then they tell us to how to look into the good part of it. But why do, and you said that, first it's because our mind, when something doesn't go, it's according to the mind. But don't you think the world is not actually bad? It's just that our expectations are too high from the world.
Yes. So that is because you asked this question because you're an advanced student in yoga, So because the first step is to, feel that you need to do something about your life, whether it is studying yoga or mastering it. First step, you need some motivation to come to the class, isn't it? That is what is the first step. That is what is kickstarts this process. That is what Buddha meant by dukkha. I need to do something about my life and bring meaning into it, bring purpose into it. So that need to deviate from the regular nonsense or dukkha is the first step. That is what I meant. That is what that I put some masala into it and say that the world is a miserable place. So what I'm trying to say is that you need to start the journey. You have to take the first step, isn't it? So that
Yes.
step is called dukkha. That is not being happy about yourself or your experience with the universe. In Mahabharata, Duryodhana says, "Your discontent is the root of prosperity." He says, first you have to be discontent. You have to be miserable to improve, isn't it? You have to see
Yes.
some scope for improvement. Then only you can improve. If you're already a worm sitting in the dirt and you're happy about it, then nobody can help you, isn't it? So you have to see that some scope is there, and then you improve. So one first step is seeing that scope for improvement, seeing that I am now what is that imperfect. I need freedom from dukkha. So the dukkha is the first realization or step. Then you find the means to it. Then you go to a teacher and study Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and then you meditate, and then you figure out, and then you are liberated. So that is the journey that Buddha or all spiritual journeys are about.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question also.
Yes.